Hey y'all, welcome to the Athlete's Health Deep Dive, the weekly episode where we get a mental performance theme of the week, dive deep into its insights through some tips, tricks to remember it, tools to apply it, and the goal here is to just bring more value to the audience, athletes, coaches, parents, anyone giving you a glimpse into some themes and topics surrounding mental performance in these longer conversations, and then a glimpse into what some conversations in our coaching could entail. And ultimately, though, aiming to help you out, get you using these tips, adding the tools to your tool belt, your bag, and up your mental performance. At the end, maybe you're more intrigued to check out some of our coaching services. But each week we have a theme, and this week's theme is Gambler's Fallacy. We're going into some biases here. And before I get that, I kind of want to give you the pre-framed story. I want to walk you through this, and then I'm going to talk about the biases, the fallacies, and we're going to keep it mental performance, I promise, but I'm going to give a little more background into what this is going to look like as we start progressing some more stuff. So first and foremost, I want to ask you, have you ever caught yourself kind of predicting what's coming next? I know I have, but not because of data, but because of a feeling, right? And maybe it's because the last few games didn't go as planned. So we're just convinced that the next game must be different, right? Or maybe like everything's been going right and we assume that nothing can stop us. This invisible force, this is the gambler's fallacy. And it has a sneaky way of kind of weaving in our lives and affecting our decisions. So today, we're going to be breaking it down, show you how we can kind of step out of these patterns and assume kind of the actions, what actions really, truly matter. So before we get into the tips, tricks, and tools, I know this is a little different than some of the other deep dives because these cognitive biases are so important in what we're going to do. And we're going to translate it in a way that's fully understandable, fully applicable. But before diving into this specific gambler's fallacy, I want to kind of have us take a step back and talk about these biases, more specifically the cognitive biases. Now, a bias is like a shortcut our brain uses. And it does that to make a decision quickly, right? Because there's so many different things happening around us that the brain uses these biases so it doesn't have to think as much. And a lot of times it is helpful, right? Like you're probably not thinking about the seat that you're sitting on or the shoes under your feet or while you're walking or anything, right? But sometimes these biases can really trick us to make decisions or see patterns that aren't there and those choices that don't really make sense. Now, if we throw fallacies into the mix, it's just kind of like a flaw in thinking. It's an error, something that in the logical sense that we have, that we're using to kind of interpret, to take things in of the world, it's an error. It's not good. And when biases and fallacies team up, they can lead us down some pretty wrong paths, especially in this high performance situation or situations. So today we are looking at one in particular, is gambler's fallacy, because everyone knows the word gambler. So we're starting with one that everyone is gonna kind of click. And this is the mental trap that can hold us athletes back. And we're gonna break it down so we can spot it when it's happening and beat it. So without further ado, let's dive deep into the gambler's fallacy. Tip number 1: slumps don't self-correct. Now, this is a common trap, all right? Like we're thinking, oh, I've been in a slump for so long. I gotta bounce out of it soon, right? But the truth, that progress does not happen because of time. It happens because of the preparation, what's being done in the time. So time is going to keep going, but it's what we're doing in the time that stops this tip or makes it continue. And the trick I want us to hit us with is the slump reset strategy. So if we're going to apply this with tools, we can write down 3 specific steps to improve one skill we're struggling with, right? We're in a slump with something, most likely. We're all somewhat in a slump where we want to work on doing something a little better. And then execute them daily for a week. focusing just on the effort, okay? Not necessarily the outcome, but the effort on what we're doing. Because ultimately, if we're just in a slump and we're like, oh, we're gonna get out of the slump, that's the outcome. Like, all right, we're gonna get out of it soon. It's fine. But that's not exactly the case. Time's just gonna keep ticking, and if we're doing the same stuff, expecting to get out of it, it might not happen. And for example, Michael Jordan, he did not he didn't end slumps by just waiting for the next shot to fall. Okay. He studied the tape, studied the opponents, tweaked his training. He tweaked it so many different times. He came back sharper every time that there was a slump. So then he could really elevate the game. He did not just let time go, but he used this trick of a slump reset tech strategy. Basically, I mean, I don't know if he used this one specifically, but he did this, and we can do it where we just write down kind of 3 steps to improve the skill and execute them for that week. Look back, look on the effort that we did, make sure we did it, and then see if this tip number 1 of us slumps don't self-correct is changing or not. Tip number 2, overconfidence after winning streaks. Now, if we're looking back at this gambler's fallacy, winning streaks can give us kind of a sense of invincibility, right? If we're gambling, like you think about people gambling and you think, oh, they're winning, they're just going to keep placing more money, and then all of a sudden they lose it all, right? If we have that sense of invincibility, and in one end, right, that is good. We want that confidence, but it can lead to that unpreparation or under preparation. And therefore those best streaks need to have the same attention to the details, to the fundamentals. That is what got us there, because ultimately it's not our winning streak right now, but it's what we are doing that got us to the winning streak is what we need to keep doing, so we don't start under preparing. And this trick is stay hungry, stay humble. That's pretty easy to remember, right? How we do this, tools to apply, is reflect on a specific situation or specific things, habits that led to the success in the last game, right? If we're feeling invincible, we got that confidence. What specifically brought that up? Then we can set an area of improvement for the next game, right? Even if we won, right? We're looking at the film, we're seeing 1 or 2 things that we're like, all right, definitely could have done that better still, right? And this is how we're staying hungry, how we're staying humble. We're looking at what we did well and what we could do better. And for instance, Serena Williams frequently analyzes her wins. Okay. Then she pinpoints the areas that she is doing really well, but then also what she needs to improve on. This way, she ensures that complacency, I kind of just stepping back and be like, we're crushing it, never creeps in. And this is exactly what we can do. We can make sure we're analyzing, looking at it, not just letting, all right, we're winning. We're just going to throw more out there. We're just going to let it go. We're just winning. We're crushing it. No, we're going to keep doing, for this tip number 2, overconfidence after winning streaks, we're going to keep doing the trick of staying hungry, staying humble with the tools, reflecting on what specifically led to success in the last game and what specifically could be areas of improvement in the last game. Thank you for listening in and watching the Athlete's Health Podcast. I just want to put this on your mind here. Upgrading the mental side of both the athletics and life, tying it into the physical stuff that we are doing. Come 2025, our mental gym is going to be revamped to studio level video quality, and our worksheets, everything will start to be licensed out to organizations, to schools, places to implement this. If you want to check out the mental gym, let me know. Otherwise, we got our online community where we are diving deeper into these deep dive subjects each week, live Q&A with the online community group where you can ask any questions about any of your teammates or anyone in the sorts, and we can hash out those mental sides and elevate the game in the online community. Otherwise, our one-on-one coaching is still leveling up. Let me know if you want to be a part of it as I keep taking on more athletes, coach them on the mental side and sharpen their skills very specifically to their needs. Otherwise, keep enjoying this free content. I love to help you out, give you the value. If you want a little bit extra sauce, check out the weekly newsletters every Sunday. Free trick and tool on this topic that only people on the newsletter get. Check that out at the website, theathleteshealth.com. Thank you for watching and leveling up your mental game. Tip number 3, skills don't balance out automatically. All right. We can think about missing a series of shots, okay, at whatever practice we're doing hits. It doesn't matter. That does not mean we're due to make the next one, right? If our percentage from the three-point shot is 33%, and we missed like 5 in a row, that does not mean we are due to make the next one. Instead, the key is going to lie in identifying and correcting the form, the focus, what exactly we're looking at. How are we shooting the shots? And that is the key here. Just because we have a skill and we think, oh, if we do it more and we just keep doing it, it's going to get better. No, I know a lot of people who go play some recreation ball in any sport and they're not very good. And that's a secret. They're not very good. And the other secret is they've been playing there quite a long time, but they don't use this tip number 3. They don't use this trick of sharpen the shot with these tools, of pause after a series of misses, take a step back, focus on one single aspect of technique, one piece to start correcting, and use a video review, right? We all have smartphones these days. Take a video, reflect objectively, and assess your mechanics. See what we need to improve on. Any sport, any sport, any athletics, there are going to be mechanics involved. Take that video, see what little piece here or there can we work on. And I love kind of Steph Curry's shooting, his legendary shot, right? Breaking all the records in basketball. Anyone, any place knows who Steph Curry is, right? But it's relentless focus on the mechanics. If you can shoot the ball, this goes for any sport. You can swing, if you can do whatever with your eyes closed and still swish it, make it not even an ounce of miss, you got the mechanics down. Even during cold streaks, you're going to ensure that consistency. You can know, and because this is what Steph Curry says, he'll miss 11 shots and he'll make the 12th, 11 threes, and make the 12th, and he'll still hit a shimmy. And a coach will ask, or a teammate will ask, how can you do that? How can you do that when you are 1 for 12 on the day? He said, because I know I'm going to get it. I know I'm going to make it. Because it's not just because of the tip number 2, what it is, but like the bad part of tip number 2, where he just thinks, oh, it'll even out eventually. It's because of using the trick in tip number 2 and tip number 3, where he knows the skill doesn't balance out automatically. He has been using the shot, the trick, sharpen the shot, the tools. He'll pause. Now, in the game, obviously, you can't fully pause, timeouts and everything, but you'll focus on that aspect, correct it. And in the game, he won't use videos, but in practice, meticulously break it down. And he is the expert. He knows it now, right? But that's what we can do. Tip number 4, misjudging the opponent's behavior, right? We're thinking the opponent's going to cool off. Okay, they're too hot, right? Right. This game's too hot. We can put some money on them this time, right? But we can ignore. So in the sports time now, we can ignore kind of the preparation skill. We don't need to worry about them. Instead, focus on how we can adapt to them. Instead of thinking they're going to cool off, we can just do our own stuff. Think, how are we going to get on to that level? With this trick is a opponent heat map. What we need to do to use these tools is study their strengths, study their weaknesses before and during the game, right? Because we do all this stuff before a game, but then the game is happening. And their heat map might be changing. It might be going from different places. Other places might be highlighting up. We got to study it during the game as well and change when we need to. Then with that, we create that in-game adjustment plan with the coach, with the team, with the people on the field. Get in that huddle quick and make those adjustments. Tom Brady could argue GOAT. I would say you could probably argue GOAT. Do you think the teams who played him sometimes failed because they assumed his success was temporary? How about his name's Max from the debate show. Wow, this is embarrassing. But he would always say, Tom Brady's at his cliff. He's fallen off. Maybe teams would listen to that. No, he just kept going. People misjudged the opponent's behavior. They thought, he's going to cool off. No. Those who studied his patterns and planned counters to what they're seeing found the success to Tom Brady. And could you argue you ever found the success to Tom Brady? You won quite a lot. But this does go to show that we do not need to use tip number 4 and misjudge the opponent's behavior. What we want to do is use that trick, the opponent heat map, pre-game, in practice, preparing for it. Prepare like they are going to stay on fire. In-game, create those adjustments when needed. Make it happen. Because otherwise, we're just going to think, they're going to cool off. It's fine. That's the gambler's fallacy. It's going to cool off. It's going to die down here soon. Will it? That's a misjudgment right there. We don't know, do we? Tip number 5, use your team and not just your gut. Now, before I go into this, I have a lot of strong, good feelings about that gut instinct and trusting your gut and going with it and all things around that. I did study that quite a lot in my undergrad and grad school of the gut-brain axis. So I like trusting your gut. But lone decision-making, especially under pressure, leads to narrow thinking, okay? Now I know in the heat of the moment, sometimes, and if we have the ball or if we're the decision maker, sometimes we do that. Maybe we do narrow that thinking and we do what we need to do. We do trust the gut. But when we can leverage the collective insights of your team, the support network, if we're talking in game and we're saying one person takes over, that's also when we call a timeout, when it's an important time in the game and we recollect, the team recollects, it's using the team and not just one person's gut. Get back out there. And then, maybe one person does take over. But that's why this trick is the collective brain, the collective gut brain instinct. You could think about it like that too, where the tools for this are we can schedule team check-ins during the halftime, reassess the game plan, which is usually what the halftime break does, right? We do reassess it. And we can, in addition to that, though, encourage those open discussions during halftime to reassess the game plan. Because this is coming from, if you're thinking gambler's fallacy, you're thinking, I got a gut instinct on this. I want to just throw some money on that one if you're in Vegas and you're betting away, And that's just not exactly what we're trying to do here when we're trying to win, when we're trying to improve that performance from the mental side. So successful coaches like Phil Jackson, for instance, NBA coach, okay, relied on the players' perspectives during the timeouts to make those informed adjustments, right? It wasn't just him as the coach saying, I think we're going to do this. We're going to do that. It was I'm sure he would probably comes into the meetings and thinking, I got some ideas behind this. I got some good ideas. But what do you guys think? You're out there playing, Think about any of the best coaches you have. Do they just come and straight up tell you? Or do they maybe tell you a little bit, maybe ask you and then tell you like, yes, that's good. What about this piece? Or what do you think on that? And the coach is ultimately even using the tip number 5. Use your team, not just your gut. And using that trick of the collective brain, right? We can go with the collective gut brain connection to, I don't care, where we get the team check-ins, halftimes, timeouts, whatever the case is, on the court, those huddles once again, and really get those open strategies going. So it's not just, I got that feeling about it. It's not that gambler's fallacy, but we're really moving past that. Now, all in all, to recap today, we covered 5 key tips, tricks, and tools for combating that gambler's fallacy, going into those cognitive biases. Because if we're talking mental performance, we got to beat all those biases. So I want to run through super fast those 5 ones we talked about today. Number 1, slumps don't self-correct. Use that slump reset strategy and focus on the actionable improvements instead of waiting for that change, right? Just saying, it'll change eventually. I'm just going to keep betting red. Number 2, overconfidence after winning streaks. We can use that trick. Stay hungry, stay humble. Even in the success, analyze and prepare. You got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them, right? Got to keep analyzing, cannot be overconfident. Number 3, skills don't balance out automatically. This one's huge, okay? Sharpen that shot and keep sharpening the shot. Adjust the focus, adjust the technique, regain that form and knock it out of the park. Number 4, misjudging the opponent's behavior, right? We use that opponent heat map. Study and adapt the opponent to the opponent, okay, right? Instead of just relying on the assumptions that we have about them. They're going to cool off here. They're going to cool off soon. Or I don't think they're going to play good in the winter, in the snow, you know. That's the 4th one. And number 5, use the team and not just your gut. That collective brain, like we're talking about, y'all. Encourage the team's perspective for smarter strategies. Think about some of your favorite coaches and what they do. Now, ultimately, understanding and overcoming the gambler's fallacy is not just about avoiding these mental traps, right? It's really about building those smarter habits, those tools. Take them from your tool bag or put these new tools in your tool bag so they can lead to that consistent, improved performance. Stay independent, stay focused, see every game, every challenge as a fresh opportunity. And I'll see you next week for another deep dive into the mental performance with the athlete's health, and catch you Thursday with our next conversation.